The doomed romantic narrative plays a powerful role in both past and contemporary fiction, featuring the contextual ideas, attitudes, and values of the authors and their times. This applies to the poetry of Robert Browning, particularly in My Last Duchess and Porphyria's Lover, where a dramatic monologue is crafted through the male perspective. Browning challenges established Victorian social inequalities such as power struggles, gender imbalance, and strict religious ideals. In contrast, the contemporary verse novel We Come Apart by Sarah Crossman and Brian Cunningham employs dual perspective to portray the doomed romance at the same time exposing Europe's division over immigration, bullying, and domestic violence. The classic Victorian Catholic values of marriage and purity are at odds to the writings of Browning. His poetry features strong, unchivalrous male leads, his stories often neglecting the new technology and scientific age around him. Browning creates the story of a demented duke whose controlling, godlike mentality leads him to the ruination of his late Duchess. This poem features the Victorian view that women are only objects for men. The quote,
"Since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you, but I,"
uses enjambment and questioning to show his complete control over her, and also brings into question his mental state. In Porphyria's Lover, after the narrator finds out that she loved him, he said,
"That moment she was mine, mine, fair, perfectly pure and good."
This overbearing and possessive ideology is very common in the doomed romantic genre of Victorian era, and through the technique of repetition, mine, mine, he clearly claims her as his possession. We Come Apart also strongly features the problem of domestic violence and family dysfunction, shown in both families, and how it's becoming a growing problem in today's society. The authors show this through quotes such as Jess saying, "Inside, a little voice is screaming for Dawn Green to open her eyes and see who the real offender is." This technique of foreshadowing in the quote shows how people are too scared to speak up because of the consequences. This also plays as a motif as throughout the story, the victims of domestic violence blame themselves instead of the perpetrator. This shows how domestic violence has imprisoned fear in the family's minds, relating back to doomed romance. Such a dysfunctional environment is always going to end in tragedy. The idea of male dominance can also be seen in Porphyria's Lover, a narrative of murder. Browning writes,
"Mine, fair, perfectly pure and good. I found a thing to do, and all her hair in one long yellow string I wound, 3 times her little throat around, and strangled her."
This quote shows a disconnect to the quite serious and brutal situation, which reinforces an unstable character. Browning does not close his eyes to the evil found in everyday life. Porphyria's blonde hair is a metaphor, a sign of purity and innocence contrasted against the ugliness, showing how callous and vicious her lover can be. This psychotic nature of the main characters is constantly the reason for doomed romance in Browning's poems.
"And all it scorned at once is fled, and I, its love, am gained instead."
Which is seen to be quite common in the Victorian era. There are less interest in contemporary poetry, so poets utilized a more disturbing approach to engage the responders by unsettling them. It's often more exhilarating to read a roller coaster romance. Therefore, the more common theme of doomed romances were affiliated. In contrast, We Come Apart, a story of 2 troubled teens, has been influenced by modern British social factors and events such as Brexit, bullying, and racist behaviour towards outsiders, knife crime, and teen pregnancy. The authors explore the harassment and bullying of immigrants through Niku's perspective throughout the story, as a group of British lads harass him because of his Romanian background. This can be seen in the quote, "Plunge the prick, right in his fucking eye, and this boy I never did hurt, pull a sheen blade from behind his jeans," where Niku's confusion and sadness is shown through emotive language of never did hurt when he tries to find a reason why this would be happening to him. This quote also shows the foil of Dan's group to Niku and his views of the world, highlighting Niku as an icon for the repressed voices of immigrants in British society. To Robert Browning's real love is its only reward, a basic need for human soul set in a Victoria age of skepticism and pessimism. Whilst in We Come Apart, love is a balm against loneliness and oppression, set against a gritty backdrop of life in a deprived part of London. Some relationships are doomed before they ever start.